Aeolus's response to Juno, Aeneid, Book 1, lines 76 and on. Aeolus haec contra, Aeolus said implied, in response, these things. Tuus, O regina, quid optes? Your, tuus here modifying laborare, also masculine nominative singular noun. Your job, queen, of course, since he's talking directly to her, that would be a vocative case. Your job, O queen, is imply the verb to be, pick up the one right here, is to figure out, explorare here, infinitive. Quid optes, what you want. Optes here is a present subjunctive because quid here is part of an indirect question. Verb of the head, explorare, to figure out. Quid, question word, optes, present subjunctive. Est fas. Now, fas is a very loaded word for the Romans. Fas means divine will. It's related to the word phemi in Greek for like blasphemy or even prophecy too. So it is fas. It is divine will, mihi, for me, to carry out, to execute. Yusa here, treated as a noun, but technically as a perfect passive participle, the things which have been ordered. Aeolus doesn't seem terribly excited to be taking up Juno's commands, but he's also very realistic about his situation. Furthermore, we find out that he owes his job to Juno. You, concilias here, indicative verb, actually functions as the main verb with 3 direct objects. You reconcile mihi, for me, quod cumque hoc, whatever this is of a kingdom. Genitive. You, again, reconcile the scepter and Jupiter, meaning his symbol of authority, and his relationship with Jupiter. Jupiter is his boss, but he got the boss through the boss's wife. That is Juno. You give, das, remember, plus an infinitive. You grant, you give the power to, the authority to, you allow, me understood, to lay down at the banquets of the gods. Syncopated genitive plural here. By the way, remember Romans dined lying down, so he's feasting as one of the big gods thanks to Juno's patronage. And euphaces, you make me understood, modified by a potentem. You make me powerful of, we would probably say powerful over, the clouds and storms. By the way, two, lovely example of anaphora, same word repeated for effect. Furthermore, that epulis here, you could either consider it a dative or an ablative of place. Dative with the acumbre compound verb. Haec ubi dicta, when this thing, singular, by the way, because this dicta implied est, although I guess it could be plural, when these things were said, impulit, he struck, in plus the accusative makes this latus here, not the adjective wide, but the noun latus latris. He struck onto its side, or on its side is fine here, the cavum montem, the empty mountain, the hollow mountain, again, as fellow caves, with a spear point conversa overturned. You could take this as an ablative absolute, but I'd say ablative means is probably better here. Just take that conversa as the participle, but treat it as an adjective. Word order wise, of course, is chiasmus, ebi then be a word order. And the winds. Welot here introduces our first formal epic simile. Of course, it's only 3 words long. Welot agmine facto. And the winds, just as after or when an agmen, a battle line, facto here has been formed, has been made, or treated as fio, has occurred. Qua here equals ubi, where a porta, technically that's a gate here. In this context, it's probably more like an opening. A gate has been given. Passive voice. Yes, it is the participle by itself, but we're going to apply the verb to be here. That's why it's got the solid box around it. And so again, the winds rush out and flow over per flant, per combo with a flant, the lands. Turbine here in a whirlwind. Something along the lines of ablative of manner, I would say, because even though it's kind of hard to render that as an adverb, it's not using a whirlwind to flow. So I'd say ablative of manner here for turbine. In cubuere here, please note that this is the ERE on the third principal part of in cubo and cubere, which makes this a syncopated genitive plural. And your nominative subjects of it are iurusque, notusque. Both the iurus and the notus, those are winds. Again, they're being personified not as anthropomorphized as we see in maybe other accounts and other myths, but the overall image, with the exception of agmen facto here, which is a military image of racehorses. Both the Urus and the Notus winds together have laid upon the sea and rushed over the whole sea, understood, from the deepest seats. And the Africus wind, dense or thick, proceles with storms, ablative of specification, because that's how it's dense. And they roll vast waves towards the shore. Wastos is modifying fluctus here. And any thoughts on why we have such a big gap between the adjective and its noun? Insequitur here has as its subjects both clamor and stridor, even though it is a singular verb. By the way, we saw something similar up here too, that the Eurus and the Notus is the subject of ruunt, and we kind of tacked on the Africus nominative subject as well. So, both the clamor virum here, the syncopated genitive plural virorum, the shout of men, shouting is fine, of men, follows. And the stridor rudentum, here it's the creaking of the rigging, genitive plural, follows. Eripiunt, suddenly, the nubes, the sky, the clouds rather I should say, eripiunt, snatch away both the sky and the day. Now we've got 2 words here functioning for one idea. This is one of those hendiades again. And maybe a good translation for both the sky and the day is daylight, something along those lines. Suddenly, the clouds snatch away the daylight from the eyes of the Trojans, to Crorum. Black night, and that atra, by the way, is a gloomy black. It's very grayish, dark gray. Gloomy black night lies upon the sea. Ponto dative because of a compound verb. Poli here is an example of metonymy here. The poles, which refers to the heavens here. So the heavens, intonuere, please note solid box. This is an indicative. It is a third principal part with that long ere, which is the syncopated genitive plural intonuerunt. Have told, have resounded, have made noise. And the iter, it's where we get the word ether, by the way. It's the upper air. The upper air flashes with dense fires. That, of course, would refer to lightning. We saw that fires back with Pallas, Minerva stealing Jupiter's lightning bolts and hurling them, his dense fire. And line 91, the subject is omnia here. It is neuter and plural. If you want to translate it as everything, that's okay though, for omnia. Everything or all things. Intento here, a good translation is threaten. Praesentem here, modifying mortem, immediate or present, instantaneous death. Viris, dative plural, for men. So it is a mortal situation. And the praesentem here, modifying the mortem, is framing line 91. It's like it's everywhere.